Good evening and welcome to another Denovan's Real Estate Facebook Live. Tonight we have the privilege of being able to sit down with Dan McKenna. Dan is the Principal Advisor at McKenna and has spent over 20 years in the accounting and financial services industries. He's worked in Australia and the UK and holds a Bachelor of Business majoring in Accounting and Financial Administration, a postgraduate diploma in Applied Finance and Investments, and a diploma in Financial Services majoring in Financial Planning. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
No worries, Haydn. Thanks for having me.
Terrific. So tonight we've got a couple of questions for Dan just to hopefully provide some value to everyone tuning in tonight in terms of financial advice and some of the things that Dan does advise on. Look, to start with, can you tell us a little bit about McKenna and why you kicked off the business?
Yeah, sure. So we're a small financial advice practice located in Gordon Park. We've been going for about 6.5 years, and we provide advice to individuals, to families and to small businesses.
Yep.
I'm an accountant by trade, so I like numbers.
Yep.
I worked in the banks for many years in a whole bunch of different roles, and by the time I got to about 40, I'd had enough of the corporate world, as fun as it was. But I wanted to open up a small business and to help people, I guess, is what I really wanted to do. So in researching what I wanted to, what sort of small business, I was going to open up a small accounting practice doing tax.
Yep.
But the more I spoke to people, everyone seemed to be happy with their accountant, and everyone's got to pay tax, but their accountants seem to be doing the right things by them and reducing and minimising their tax as much as possible. So clients seem to be happy with that. But the questions they were asking me were more about how should we be managing our cash flow? How do we reduce our debts as quicker than we are?
Yeah.
We seem to be going nowhere.
Of course. Yeah.
Should I have life insurance or should I not?
Yeah.
So they're the sorts of questions that they're asking me, and so it dawned on me that, gee, there's a need for good financial advisors around.
Yeah.
And certainly for me, it made much more sense, and it would be much more exciting to be trying to help people move forward rather than just worrying about last year's tax return. So,
of course, yeah.
So that's why I got into it. The feedback from our clients is that we're being really helpful and they love the service that we're providing, and that's why I do it. That's why I come in.
Why you keep going, why you get up in the morning.
That's right.
Okay. And I guess, for those of us, or those people out there that might be wondering, when or why should someone, see a financial advisor?
Well, when or where, that's always a tough question. We always want people to come in tomorrow afternoon, actually, but
yeah.
I always reflect on the Chinese proverb that suggests that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the second best time to plant a tree is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or today.
Yeah.
So I have a similar view about seeking advice, whether it's financial advice or real estate advice or accounting advice. Go and seek it. If you feel like you need, then go and talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
So many of our clients walk out of our office saying, "Gee, we wish we saw you 15 years ago," or "We wish we saw you 10 years ago." So I think now's a good time to go and seek advice.
Have a chat. Yeah, see what you can plan. Yeah. Okay. And look, I guess for someone that is in that 18 to 30 bracket, how do you think? What sort of conversations would you be having with someone? I guess it's in that age bracket, maybe just out of school or potentially just finishing university.
Yeah.
What sort of advice would you give to them, or what sort of conversations would you have?
From 18 to 30 odd, I call them the honeymoon years. You've got very few responsibilities. You've just come out of school. You're trying to work out what career you want to pursue.
Yeah.
You want to travel. You want to hang out with your friends. You might want to try and find a partner. So it's really party time. So in terms of financial advice, it's more an education piece. There's not a great need. People are just trying to get into the workforce, really. So certainly that's how I was. And try and keep things as simple as possible in terms of your finances. But we do have 18 or 25-year-olds come in, and it's an education piece. We talk to them about the power of compound interest. Einstein's eighth wonder of the world. We talk to them about how the superannuation system works in this country and changes every year. But as a general basis, how does it work and why should they be interested in it?
Bit of an overview sort of thing.
We talk to them about how investment properties work and that sort of stuff. So there's not a great deal of activity, but it's more of an education piece for that age group.
Yeah, okay, and potentially answer any questions they might have specifically about their scenario or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and for someone that might be in that 30 to 50 age bracket, what sort of conversations would you have with those people?
Yeah, well, the 30 to 50-year-old age bracket is a completely different age bracket, as we all know. And if I just reflect and think about an average family, so a husband and wife, 2.3 kids, a dog, possibly a goldfish or whatever, often one of the partners has scaled back their work, so the income has dropped off, it's gone to part-time or nil, and pressures start rising. There's more responsibility, there's more dependence, there's more cost involved, and not necessarily the increase in income. So it's really a crunch time. In my mind, it's the survival years, really. So some of the things we talk about is, you probably had a couple of jobs up until the age of 30, so let's consolidate your superannuation. Let's understand what your cash flow is. Do you want to send the kids to private school or not? What impact is that going to have? And ensure that there is some protection in place in terms of insurance in case something was to occur. So, most people have bought a house, they've got a mortgage. Haydn, what would you consider the most important, apart from the people involved, but what's the most important asset do you think the family would have?
Yeah, probably the family home would be my guess.
Yeah, and that's a big asset, that's a big value.
Yeah.
And often, in Australia, or in Brisbane anyway, the average, $600,000, $700,000, something like
just
that.
over 600 at the moment, nearing on 650. Yeah.
So that's obviously a really important asset to protect, and that's why we all have contents insurance and replacement insurance for the house. But my view of the most important asset is actually your ability to earn an income. So if you've got an income of, let's call it $50,000, you're 30 years of age, and you've got another 30 years at least to go to work, then there's $1.5 million in cash flow that if you're unable to work, you're going to miss out on bringing into the family. So I actually consider that a really important asset to be to be protecting. So we've got to look at income protection, for example, for that life cover, all that sort of stuff. So
things like that,
they're the sorts of things that I look at for the 30 to 50-year-old bracket.
In that bracket, And I think that's a powerful point you raised as well, because obviously that's going to impact all elements of the family's life, whether that be the choices they're able to make for schooling, investments they're able to make, all those sorts of things. It really could impact a number of different areas in that family's life. So.
Well, I think one of the really important things that we do for clients, so we do a lot of the everyday practical work, the investment recommendations, or we put the insurance in place, or we consolidate super, all that sort of stuff. So that's the practical, people can actually see that actually occur. But often for people between 30 and 65, they've never really sat down to think about what they're trying to achieve in life and how their financial life will impact or facilitate or enable those objectives in life. So a lot of feedback from our clients is that the most valuable part of our service is actually giving them the time to talk about that with each other, or to think about what they're trying to achieve in life or what they want to do in life, and then for us to come up with a plan to enable them to do that. So we come up with a plan, we educate our clients on what their options are, and it empowers them to make decisions.
Well, would do, and I guess they've then got a common goal that they're looking to achieve, and a plan on how to get from A to Z too, I suppose, which is quite critical. So terrific. And then I guess same question for those people that might be 50 plus, maybe nearing retirement. What sort of conversations would you be having with those folks?
So the 50 plus, that's again another sort of focus, I guess. So the kids, most of the kids' expenses have gone. I won't say all of them, but a lot of them have gone. They've certainly reduced. Often the second spouse will go back to work full time. Often just to enjoy the time. So the cash flow crunch, you've sort of got through. You've survived the cash flow crunch, so to speak. And if you think about the age of 50. So what that actually means is, if you reflect, you've actually worked for 30 years.
Of course,
And if you want to retire at 65, then you've only got another 15 years to go of working life. So it's a good time to sit down and reflect and think about what have you achieved over that 30 years of working life in terms of your financial achievements. And recognise whether you've done a great job or whether you might need some improvement, because you've only got 15 years of good cash flow to go.
Of course, it's a critical little pivotal point in life, isn't it, really?
Critical time.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I know we've got a script to follow here and some questions. A little bit of feedback here and a live question that's come through that I thought I'd just ask Dan. Sorry to interrupt you. Lance is my name, I'm back here. Jonathan Payne has just raised a good question here for you, Dan. We didn't, surprisingly with this, we didn't know this was going to happen.
Completely off script here. So.
Should we be paying off our mortgage on our own home as quick as possible, or should we be looking to get an investment property? That's been the question that's been raised. I know there'll be a number of factors, you'll have to weigh into that, but
yes.
Jonathan has just asked that quickly, so I just thought I'd bring that up, and I'll
That's
slide off screen now and leave it up to you, gents.
It's a great question. It's a great question, Jonathan, and thanks for your question. I can't answer it really, because I need to really sit down with you individually and think about what those numbers are and try and understand what your objectives are. Certainly reducing your home loan as quickly as possible, there are significant financial benefits in doing that. Firstly, you reduce the interest cost. So if you pay your home loan off 5 years earlier, then you've got all that interest saved from the mortgage. So that's it's a straight interest saving, so that's brilliant. The other thing that does is that 5 years that you paid off earlier, all of a sudden those repayments, let's say your repayments were $3,000 a month, those $3,000 a month repayments now becomes free cash flow to then invest. And so you get, the compounding interest 5 years earlier from that benefit. So I'd have to sit down and actually look at your individual scenario to determine whether it's probably beneficial to pay it off quicker or to go into an investment property early. I'm not sure. I'm happy to have that conversation, but I guess the generic answer is pay your mortgage off, owner-occupied mortgage off as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's been answered well. Thank you again, Jonathan, for that question. Next question on here, just jumping back on script, is how could you help? Obviously a lot of our viewers are looking at either purchasing their own home or some of them are looking at purchasing investment properties as well.
Yeah.
How could you, with the things you do here at McKenna Collins, how could you assist someone in that process?
Yeah, so I'm not licensed to provide individual property advice, so I can't advise you to go and buy 115 Gordon Street, Gordon Park.
No.
I can't provide that advice, but I can help you understand what the numbers look like. I can look at your cash flow and your budget to understand what you can afford in terms of repayments for a debt.
Yeah.
And we can talk about how much equity and all that sort of stuff. So I can provide information and get clients to understand what the financial ramifications are of buying a property, whether it's an investment or an owner-occupied.
Yeah, okay.
So we go through that and we ensure that our clients understand what they would be getting themselves into financially.
Yeah.
And then I ask them to go and befriend real estate agents like Denovan's.
Yes, yeah.
And talk to local real estate agents in the areas that they want to buy into, so that they can get feedback on the market in those areas. The other thing I suggest is to make realestate.com.au a favourite on your web browser and monitor that often and just watch the market. Try and become familiar with the market as best you can. Not just what's on sale, but also have a look at what's been sold in that area that you're looking for, what sort of property it was, what the price was, so that you understand firstly the numbers, so you understand what you can afford and what you should be paying, but also when a bargain comes up, you're right under it. You know it's a bargain and you enter the market with confidence to go and put an offer on that property.
And actually move forward, yeah. I think that's great advice too, what you're saying about knowing the market backwards, going to open homes, chatting to real estate agents, and trawl the web on the sold section of realestate.com and even the buy section as well, because I think it is all about confidence as well, knowing when a property comes up at good value. If you know the market backwards, you are in that position to really move quite swiftly on it too, aren't you? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the only difference on an investment property to that scenario is that often an owner-occupied purchase has a level of emotion, because you're going to live there. It's going to be a lifestyle asset. So you want to buy within the market value, of course, but sometimes you might pay a little bit more because you've got emotion involved in it. When it comes to investment property, you just got to let the numbers do the talking. Yeah. You can't be emotive on that, I don't think.
No, I have to agree. It's all strictly numbers based or future potential too, isn't it? You've got some value there within the asset to maybe add value.
Absolutely.
Subdivide, redevelop, and obviously that's a whole new kettle of fish. But generally speaking, it's strictly by the numbers, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah. And you've got to understand what it's going to cost. You've got to understand the tax implications, and again, where we could add value, and then what's the exit strategy. Yeah. Understand what your exit strategy is.
Yeah, and I guess that comes back to what your goals are as well.
Yeah.
for the long term. But okay, we've got a bit of a retirement question. So for someone, the average Australian looking to retire at let's say 65, I know things are getting a little bit longer these days and people are working longer, but say someone who wanted to work until they were 65 and comfortably retire, how much money overall would they generally require?
Well, that's an interesting question because everyone spends in a different way, I guess, and has a different need for cash flow. Yeah. But if we look at the base, so the age pension, so if you've got no assets, then you'll and you're an Aussie and you're entitled to it, then you'll receive the age pension. And for a single person, it's about $23,000 a year.
Yep. Okay.
For a couple, it's about $35,000 a year.
Yeah.
So that's the base case.
Mm.
So to move up from there, there's an industry report put out by the Association of Super Funds of Australia, and that's the industry benchmark. And they say for a comfortable lifestyle, comfortable meaning you're not worried too much about money, you can afford to go and buy a coffee, you can go out to dinner once a week.
Have you smashed ABBA if you want to?
If you want to, maybe an overseas trip every 3 or 4 years, that sort of stuff.
Often,
So comfortable. Then for an individual, you need about $44,000 a year.
Yep.
And for a couple, you need between $60,000 and $65,000 a year.
Okay, that's for a comfortable.
For a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's, you own your own property, and you have assets that generate an income for a couple of $65,000, $65,000 a year.
Okay. All right.
For that, for a couple, you need about $650,000 in invested assets, earning about 6% I should say, to generate that level of income over the next 25, 30 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So that also includes a level of age pension when you start spending some of your money. So at some point over the time, you'll end up receiving some part pension.
I see, as you spend those funds, sort of thing.
So as a minimum, really, you want to generate a pool of assets of about 650 to generate a lifestyle that you can comfortably live.
Comfortably retire, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? So of the population over the age of 65, what percentage do you think receive the age pension? Either full pension or a part pension?
Yep. Would be over 50%?
Yep.
Yep.
It's 80%.
80% is it? Okay, I probably wouldn't have guessed that high, but yeah.
No. 80% of people over the age of 65 in Australia receive some level of age pension.
Okay, yeah.
Now that might have changed slightly since January when some new pension rules came in, but it's roughly around that number.
Yeah.
So if we think about our ageing population, so we've got more people hitting 65 and being in receipt of age pension, and we've got less young people paying tax to then fund that age pension. So the conclusion from there is that the government will continue to squeeze the age pension.
Okay, because there's more people, as a general rule, there's more people claiming it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I read from that is that, okay, the industry suggests you need at least 650 grand in capital assets generating income, but if the age pension keeps getting squeezed, you're going to need more than 650. So just try and accumulate as much as you can, I guess, is the message there.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess for people that are around, say that early 50s sort of age range that are hoping to retire at 65.
Yep.
Have you got any sort of top tips that might be beneficial for people to sort of plan ahead for those last 15 years of working life?
Is this a question put in by your father?
I hope not. He's got more than 15 years.
So
I'm listening hard, Dan.
We'll keep you there for longer.
So I think it's back to what I said before. So you've hit 50, and ideally you want to retire by 65. So you've got 15 years of income generating years ahead of you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to just sit down and take stock. I can't provide any advice right now, but I think the most important thing is to take stock.
Yeah.
And if you're a couple, then agree what your goals are.
Yeah.
What sort of retirement do we want? What sort of lifestyle do we want in retirement?
Yeah.
And we can help you understand what sort of cash flow you're going to need to fund that retirement lifestyle. And then we can work out how much capital you're going to need to fund that retirement lifestyle.
Yeah.
Then we can work out, okay, what have we got to do between now over the next 15 years to be able to deliver that goal in retirement, so that you're more relaxed and you're enjoying the retirement that you actually aimed to get.
Yeah.
So I think that's our job, is to give you a better probability of achieving your goals than you would have on your own. So I think take stock, and really from that point on, it's all about cash flow.
Yeah.
Managing that cash flow and squirreling it away into assets that are going to grow and create passive income for you in retirement.
Yeah, so making your money work as hard as possible for
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
is fairly critical.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess, for people looking at their superannuation, could you run us through some of the options you've got to actually invest your superannuation?
Oh, yeah, superannuation, that's...
I know these are all very broad questions.
It's a very hot topic. It's a very hot topic, and you could talk for hours on superannuation, but I think people lose sight of the fact that it's actually very simple, really. It's just a taxation structure. That's all it is. It's just a taxation structure, but there's all this rhetoric that goes on around it. And of course, there's such a large pot of money sitting in the superannuation portfolio for Australians that the government will continue to tinker with it. So it might surprise you, as a financial advisor, I've never put any of my own money into a superannuation fund.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
So that's because I value access to any money that I have,
Yeah.
in case the proverbial hits the fan,
course,
so that I've got access to it.
So you've got it there here and now as well.
So,
yeah.
But having said that, that's not to say that I won't use it a bit more appropriately in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
But there are lots of different options. You can manage it yourself, you can have an industry fund manage your super, you can have a retail fund manage your super, and there are lots of different reasons why you would choose one or the other, I guess. And until I sit down with a client and understand what they're trying to achieve and where they're at in life and what they're, what they're trying to achieve, then I can't provide that advice. But I think the rule of thumb for me in terms of looking at superannuation is you've got to look at what the performance of the assets or the performance of the investments inside that super fund have gone. So are they performing?
You're looking at the track record, perhaps?
Looking at the track record and looking at the future and all that sort of stuff. So looking at the performance, looking at the cost of the superannuation fund.
Yeah.
Are the costs exorbitant? Or are they,
weekly fees, monthly fees?
Yeah, have a look at all of that.
Yeah.
And thirdly, particularly when you're in the age bracket between 30 and 50, 55, is to look at the insurance offering.
Okay.
Insurance offering can vary in terms of quality considerably between different funds, and if the proverbial bus comes and collects somebody when you least need it, you want to have confidence that that insurance policy will pay.
Is watertight. So you're talking about potentially life insurance, income protection,
total permanent disablement, all those insurances.
All those insurances. Yeah. So making sure you read the policy, make sure you understand when and why they'll pay and why they perhaps might not pay as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess for anyone who, I'm sure everyone's learned an absolute bucket load tonight. I know I have. And I guess for anyone who was looking at putting a plan in place for their financial future and trying to, I guess, structure their goals a little bit better than perhaps where they are at the moment. Is it easy as giving you a call, or can we give you a website a plug or something?
I like talking to people, so I'm happy to receive a phone call. So our phone number is 3357 6070. But if you're more comfortable to send an email or get onto our Facebook site and send us a message, then please do so. Email is dan at mckennacollins.com.au. Yeah. So however you're comfortable in communicating, then we're happy to respond.
Terrific. Now, what we'll do as well is in the comments section tonight, we'll have Dan's direct contact details there as well for anyone that did need some extra advice or was interested in perhaps getting some advice specific to their situation as well. But look, we really appreciate you coming on board with us tonight and chatting a few of those things. So, as I said before, I'm sure everyone's got a lot of value out of tonight, and we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch up with you next week.